Hey, I'm Jonathan Otto, and you're currently watching episode 9 of Healing Genesis, the mind-body connection, the healing power of faith and positive thinking. True healing is more than just cleaning the body, giving it what it needs, and being careful of what we eat. True healing is achieved when we tackle the problem holistically and address the body's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual needs. Believing that you can heal is always the first step of the healing journey. And when we lose this battle, we've already lost our journey for better health. Positive thinking and faith have more effects on our overall health and recovery than we realize. By having a positive mindset and believing that you can truly heal, you are actually enhancing the body's immune function and reducing the body's stress and anxiety. In this episode, join me as we learn more about the connection of the mind with the body and how this might be the missing piece to your true healing journey. Starting off this episode is Alison Davies, as she shares her powerful healing testimony. Ali shares that she was struggling with severe breathing problems and asthma for an unusually long period of time, and how none of the various treatments that she did, including conventional medicine and natural remedies, provided her any relief. She will share how this health condition severely affected both her physical and mental health, and how she experienced great despair and even considered writing a letter, since she believed that she might not be able to survive what was happening to her. Thankfully, I was able to speak to her, and she was able to get the information that she needed. I was able to share with her things that I had learned, that I had done to myself and done with others, and what our experts had shared with you and with me personally. And together, that information, which you're all getting access to, because I'm going to share with you what she did, this turned around her chronic condition in this state, and she started to heal. She used nicotine gum and nicotine patches and even urine therapy, and she was able to halt her condition and turn around many of the symptoms and regain her health. But now Ali's case study is interesting. It's a story that I wanted to share with you, even though it's not a completed story. She is still battling various conditions, but she's having tremendous success using these different therapies, and they are helping her, and she's healing gradually. And that's often the healing journey. It's a gradual process. And so now, one thing that I wanted to make clear with a story like Ali's and with the healing journeys for practically everyone, if you put a point here and a point here, okay, so now the pathway from here to here would typically, you would think, be that straight line, but that's not how healing happens, because the body is an intricate system, and it takes steps forwards and takes steps back based on how it's resolving challenges and how systemic, how widespread and universal the problem is across the body. And so because of this, it takes time. And so what's happening here is, instead of a straight line, you'll see this zigzaggy line up, which actually, when you are in it, it seems like you just got success, and now you're having a complete decline because you don't realize how much you've gained, and you're not really necessarily good at tracking how much success you had. And that's the problem, but you don't realize that you're actually getting towards this target. And what happens is, people have these zigzaggy moments all the way up, and that downward turn, they think, oh no, that's it, of course, this is it, I'm done. And then their mind actually will help kind of take over that situation and downward spiral them, and they'll suffer greatly, and that can actually lead to death, that thought process. And so I just want to encourage people. I want to share Ali's story. Ali is a victorious woman. She's with us, she's fighting, and I'm still touching base with her. She's my mum's best friend, actually, and I used to teach with her when I was a high school teacher. That's the truth. And back in Belmont High School, actually, so you can look up this school in Australia. And I taught with her the first year I was out of study from university. After I did a degree in journalism, I went and did a diploma in education as a postgraduate degree, so that I could take my communications, media production, and journalism degree and use it to teach, in this case, English literature. And so when I was teaching at this school, Ali was teaching health and so physical health. And so this was how we first connected. My mum and her became best friends, and this information then came at a time when she needed it. And I want to encourage people as well, when, like, there's going to be so many people that have these respiratory issues and breathing issues and conditions diagnosed as, conditions like asthma that aren't really technically asthma. And Ali's story is a great example of that. But she's had tremendous success. She's still going through the battle. I wanted to make that very clear, because Practically all the case studies we share with you are people that have had their complete healing journey, where they've basically got completely out of their problem and they're in a state of bliss and happiness and health now, and the challenges that they face are nominal, and they've put their condition in remission. And then there are certain cases where they'll say exactly how far their nerve damage is healed, and they'll explain that and say, this is how far it's healed so far in this amount of time, and here's what I'm expecting. And so we'll share with you journeys that are underway, and Ali's is an example of a story that is underway, whereas she is still working through this condition. She hasn't put it in remission or healed it yet, but she has got tremendous success, and she has used these therapies to save her life as she's gone through this journey. So you've got to see this.
When you rang and told me what to do, I was writing it all down, struggling, and then when you prayed, I had this peace. And I thought, if that's the last thing I ever hear, if your prayer was so powerful, I thought it's okay. It's going to be okay. And I had peace, and then I said, but I'm going to not giving up yet. I'm going to do exactly what you said. Got my nebulizer out, got my hydrogen peroxide. I wrote down everything, went and found my Nicorette and got into it, and I thought, well, God, it's up to you now. Now our days are in your hands. If this is a day, you can't tell me I didn't give it my best shot. So, yeah, and when I lied there and I was sick, and I just thought of your prayer, and it was just so powerful, and it gave me such peace. And I just had this trust in God that I know He loves me, and if I'm not meant to be here in the last days, well, maybe that's a bonus. And then I thought, but God, I think you've got something for me to do. Let's see. And so I laid there sick, and I thought, oh, well, it's up to you now, God. And then I started feeling sick, and then you sort of, mind goes both ways. And then, and then I got sicker, and then I started to feel like I could breathe. Then okay, God, we're going this way. Cool. And then it just got better and better, and I just couldn't wipe the smile off my face. And then last night, just woke up. I think I even slept with a smile on my face, and I haven't smiled for so long. I just was there going, I can breathe. And it was just, it's just awesome. So thank you. Prayer, I even after your prayer, I thought, well, if that's the last thing I ever have on this earth, that was a good way to end it. And then I started chewing the Nicorette, and then by the second one I was so sick. I felt all tingles, I felt neck pain, everything, and then was getting really sick, and then Ian rushed and got the patches, and I've got the patches on, and I just started to breathe. And I slept, and I was breathing, and I just was crying and praying all night, because I'm like, and Ian went to work with the biggest smile on his face, because I knew if he came home and saw me yesterday, he'd rush me to hospital. None of my puffers worked. I even resorted to all my old asthma puffers, everything. And I knew if he saw me, he'd just take me straight to hospital. I thought, they'll just intubate me and I'll be gone. And I was ready, and I thought, oh, well, I was trying to be positive. I was wrestling with God all day. And I said, well, at least I won't be in the last days. And I was trying to look on the bright side, won't be here for the time of trouble. And then it just started, and last night I only slept for 5 hours because I was so excited to breathe. But I just laid there and prayed, and I feel like that 5 hours was like the last few nights I've stayed in bed 10 hours because I just struggled like to a flattened straw to breathe. And then I just started breathing, and it's just like I just kept crying, and I'm praying for you, and I'm praying for you, and I was just praising God, and I just stayed there, and I went, okay, God, you're not finished with me yet. Except I think I said to God, whatever you want now, God, I'm here, I've got life back. Just tell me. So thank you. Thank you. It just doesn't seem enough. I don't know what I can do to say thank you. Because it's just like amazing. Like, it's night and day. It's just so, from yesterday thinking it was all over Red Rover, then I thought, well, I'm going to die near, I'm not dying in hospital. And then now it's like my airways, I can breathe. And I'm just like, I know I'm not 100% yet, but it's just like, I feel like I even took the dog for a walk. The poor dog hasn't been able, because I haven't been able to even go up and down the stairs. And so yesterday I went out just to water the plants. I couldn't even do it. I couldn't breathe, and I had to come in and just sit down. And that's when I was just, working it out with God, and trying to think, well, their days. And I thought yesterday was it. But thanks to you, it's just like a miracle. And I kept going, was it Jono's prayer or is it the nicotine? I don't know. Like, it's just amazing. Because I've just been happy tears. Like, I couldn't believe it all morning. When I saw your mum and dad, I just had to hug them and say things. If we're having you. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, it's just overwhelming. Who would have thought? Like, I've literally done everything from Misty Mountain, hyperbaric, gone and done every single thing, naturopaths, all these breathing specialists, everything. And even all the mainstream stuff, did nothing. And now you've done that. And yesterday, isn't it amazing though? You get to the bottom where you think it's over, and your mum was calling me, and then you called me. Or I don't know, I might not be here today. Like, it was that bad. And Ian could vouch for it. Like, he was like, for the last week, wanted to take me to hospital. And I just kept going, nah. I knew what they'd do to me there, and I knew it wasn't going to heal me, and it'd probably be the end of me. Because I couldn't breathe, and if Ventolin and all the Symbicorts and that were doing nothing, there's nothing more they could do. They would have just... And then simple as this, and I didn't realise, you live this healthy lifestyle, you didn't realise you had all these toxins in you until that. And you just feel it coming out. Like, I didn't feel good when it was happening, but I didn't vomit or anything because I did it, with the gum for a couple of times and then the patch, and now I'm just, like, it feels like all of a sudden I've got my life back, and I just love the simple things because I can breathe. You don't realise until you haven't got it. I don't know how to thank you enough. It's just amazing. And to Jono for what you do and your heart and all this and Dr. Artis and everyone for what they've done to find these things, because I reckon I definitely owe you a lot. Thank you. It's amazing. I don't know how to thank you enough. God bless you. And if there's ever anything I can do to repay you, let me know. And then we're praying for you guys another stop, because I was like, wow. Yeah, God is good. Just how He works it all out.
You just did it. You just, like, I'm not talking about you saying that to me, even though that's really beautiful. It's a confirmation. But the greatest thing you could do for me is prove what we're teaching is true, because that's my mission. My mission is just to save lives. It's nothing. What else? Save lives, save souls. And, like, that's everything. Like, so it's in, like, there is nothing to repay. I'm just so amazed and grateful and excited that this happened for you.
It was just so simple. Like, I just, when I've spent thousands, actually heaps of money trying to get this under control. I thought I'd done everything. And then you ring up and it just seemed, it was like a miracle. It was just like a miracle. So, oh yeah, to just take a big breath now is like for everyone and take it for granted. But when you haven't been able to take a full breath so long, it's life changing. I feel like I've got my life back. Yeah, you don't realise, like yesterday, I basically couldn't do anything because I couldn't move and breathe at the same time. Yeah, so today I'm like, come on, let's go on for a walk. Yeah, it was just, and every step I was just praising God and thanking you and all the wonderful people that you have used and all together to work this out and spend your life dedicated to saving. Little thank you. Yeah, it's just so amazing. I wouldn't have thought, because I live a healthy lifestyle. I eat healthy. I take all the vitamins that they've said all the time, or done all that, done everything, and then I could feel the tingles, the sweats, and the pain. I had pain all down my neck. It was like this side of my neck just started pain, and I'm thinking, oh, what have I done? And then it's as soon as you feel it and you think I'm starting to breathe, you go and get the patch on, and then last night just to lie there and breathe, and even 5 hours feels like what I not like. I woke up with from 10 hours and I'd be exhausted because of breathing. I'd be sitting there, like I spent all Sabbath. We just had to walk a little way from the car to friend's place for Sabbath, and they all went, oh, you all right? You all right? And so, I'll be okay. And I couldn't, you know how I love to talk. I couldn't even talk and breathe. And now, yeah, probably need to talk less, but now I can, like, I've already vacuumed a house, and I haven't been able to even I know that sounds pathetic to love the vacuuming, but when you can't do it, everything, you just appreciate the simple things again. Yeah, and I like to go from where I was ready to say, I was nearly even going to write a letter yesterday because I thought, I can't really need to come home because I know where it'll take me, because he's only worried about me and he feels helpless. And when someone can't breathe and your puffers don't work, a natural thing is rush him to hospital. And I thought, no, that's not what I want to do, so I'm not ringing him. So yeah, then I chewed some gum because I had 2 more bits of nicotine gum. Did one and then did the other, then started feeling sick, and he came home with the patches, put it on, and I can breathe. It's just amazing. I know it sounds stupid, but breath is everything when you haven't had it. So thank you so much. And thank Dr. Artis and all them, because, oh my goodness, it's just, yeah, if I didn't know this, I probably wouldn't be here today.
You got a husband that loves you and needs you, and 2 sons that love Jackson and Noah, that love and need you. They both need you. All 3 of these boys need you. I have 2 boys. I have a wife, so Lori understands what it's like to have three men that need her, and they need you. Like they love you. Ian, everyone would be devastated at the loss of you, and everyone's been scratching their heads and not knowing what to do and how to help. And what a gift, that God has given. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's so amazing. It's just amazing. And if there's anything else I can ever do, I owe you my life. It's just profound, the difference in so quick a time. I'm just going to keep, now with this, I'm going to keep going, and then get all these toxins out that are obviously there.
Yeah. You'll get it completely in remission by doing that, as long as you wanted. like doing 7 milligrams a day is something that your body could handle being on, quite indefinitely. But what's going to happen is then we can like find the ones that are like the least toxic type, because the ones that you've got are not perfect, but like have at it, like, because that amount of exposure is really not going to do, like, like you've seen what it's done for you, right? So
I'm on the 14 ones. Is that right?
no, good on you. Yeah, I actually I think I said 7 or 14, and like 14 is definitely what is good, because like you can handle it. That's what. And then what we would have said to others was just to do the 7, so that you didn't have as much of that feeling of that toxin sensation of those toxins coming out and stuff. So if you were in such an acute situation, I'd say, look, just 7, and just in order to make it easy for you. But 21 milligrams in a day is really, really fine. It's not a lot. I've done 42 in a day, so 14 is fine. But yeah, and you could just keep going, and then once you feel like you're out of the woods, then you could do it as more of a maintenance, and then you could like do it like once a week, or you could do it every few days, or like it's not like a medication where you don't have to be on it. Once you remove those toxins, then it's just like, well, look, are you still getting exposed to those toxins, or and then you could just use it as a preventative and a protective measure, that kind of thing. Yeah, so pretty cool, eh?
Oh, who would have thought? Like, it's just, and see, I did nicotine way back when Dr. Artis first came out with it.
Yeah, there you go.
And I did the nicotine gums, and I felt a bit nauseous, but I only did it for like 2 days, and and then I hadn't done it since, and my asthma had progressively got worse and worse and worse, even with everything I was doing.
Yeah.
And then I'd do a new like herbal mix or this or that, and I'd feel a bit better, and I'd be all optimistic, yes, I'm going to beat this. And then it would progressively go down, and then, every time you're in dire straits, the doctors just put you on another puffer, and they don't never take the old one away. They just add more and add more prednisone. And I had been on a cycle of prednisone, and then of course you feel good for a few weeks, but then you go down, then they put you on another one, and it's just, I knew it was destroying my body, and then it wasn't having the same effects, and you need more. And I thought, no way. And I thought, look, God's got a way here. And then this. And then I got so bad that even the puffers did nothing anyway. So it was useless. It was literally just trying to drag in air through a straw. Like I was suffocating all the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and now I've taken the dog for a walk, done a bit of vacuuming, and now I'm like, come on, I haven't slept much, but I feel $1 million. I think I'm on adrenaline too, because I just can't believe it. I'm still pinching myself that it's just amazing.
Well, like, people have these fears of being like put in a coffin while they're still alive, and then be buried under the earth, or people like getting trapped in a small place or something like that. Does that like resemble the feeling in any way?
Yeah, it was like you're drowning every morning. Like, even to lie down, it was like I had my lungs filled up with fluid, and I just had to concentrate non-stop to breathe, and had to get myself. But if I had to get up to go to the toilet in the middle of the night, I'd literally sit there and go on the edge of the bed, try and I've only got to walk a short distance to try and calm myself and lie down again, so I could try and get asleep and get my breathing enough to get some sleep. And it was constant. Yeah, and just to walk, I could never, and I used to ring your mum every time I went for a walk, and we'd talk and pray. And I couldn't do that anymore. I had to just sit and ring, and because I couldn't walk and talk. Now, I was walking, talking to Max, talking to God, yeah. And I know it sounds so simple, but when you haven't had it, it's everything. Yeah, just amazing. Yeah, thank you.
What do you think Ian was going through?
Oh, he was on Saturday, Sabbath, he was like, "Are you sure you're all right? I should take you to the hospital. Look, I'll be with you. It'll be right. We need to do something." And I said, "Nah, not going." He said, "Well, what can I do?" And I said, and it sounded like I had fluid on my lungs and everything. So he was just banging on my back. He was, sit down, I'll do it. You don't move, because he knew every time I moved, I would be just trying to get a breath in. He felt so helpless. Like there's nothing he could do.
What was the look like looking at his face? What was the emotion you think that he was feeling?
Oh, helpless. Yeah. And he was sad because he just knew how bad I was. He didn't even want to go to work yesterday, and I said, "No, I'll be right, you go." Because, I knew him being there, there's nothing he could do, and it's better that he's not seeing me the way I was, and that's why the worse I got during the mock, because he goes so early. And the worse I got, I thought, nah, I'm not going to ring him because there's nothing he can do. He'll just take me to hospital. And that's when your mum called. And then, she could hear it. And I was trying to talk, and I said, "I can't even talk and pray. You've got to pray, Wani. I can't speak and breathe at the same time." And then I found my Nicorettes, and then I had a pretty sick afternoon. Like I just laid there because I wasn't doing it. I couldn't do anything anyway. And I was just thinking, no, I'm just doing this because I've got nothing to lose. This is my only hope. And I just did it, and I felt sort of a bit sick, and I went really lightheaded. So I just laid down on a recliner, and I thought, I'm going to have another one. And then I felt I just tingled all over me. Yeah, and I felt dreadful, and the pain in this side of my neck, the back of my head was, especially one side, it was just intense. And then I got pains right down my spine, right at the base of my spine, and I just felt dreadful, and I really felt lethargic. And then I thought, it'll be home soon. I better sit up and wash my face, and because I'd been really upset wrestling with God, didn't want this to be the end. But then and then I could, as soon as I felt a bit, I can feel something working. Like even all the feeling sick didn't matter. I'm thinking something's working. And then progressively, and at dinner, Ian said, "Your breathing seems better." I said, "Yeah, I know, it's getting better." And then, then I quickly jumped into the shower and put the patch on them through the night. And Ian even woke me up in the middle of the night. Oh, no, he was awake, and I rolled over. I said, "You're awake?" He said, "Just been here listening to you breathe like you can breathe." And he was just lying there awake, and it was about 3 a.m. Well, we went, "No." So we just had a big cuddle, and so he was on top of the world. So he just said, "Whatever Jono says, if he wants you to say to him, just do it, because he saved your life." Yeah. So it was just awesome.
Oh, good on him. What a champion. I'm so happy for you guys. Oh, man. Because I know how much you guys love each other, and I know how much you guys are just, so many different new things, like Ian learning faith and, church and everything. It's all new to him. And anyway, I'm just saying that he's trying his best, and it's good for him to see things of like how God can show up and things like that, and I'm just encouraged by that. Up next, we get to hear from a wonderful woman, Alethea Morris, who shares with us a little bit about her nonprofit organization, the Dallas Fair Park Community and Business Development Enterprise, which is dedicated to the principles of permaculture gardening. She shares with us the holistic and sustainable nature of permaculture and how it aligns with the values of wholeness and balance that my own work embodies. Alethea, I really enjoyed connecting with you last night, and there were some things that you said that just made me see how you had a way of like receiving people and connecting and looking like deeper, and it was just really touching for me. And I think that I think a lot of people can learn from that. You know, for example, for me, I grew up kind of feeling very skeptical of people in a way. Like I think you see good in people, and I think that's really beautiful. I think that and that you're a humanitarian at heart. And there was also this interesting thing where your understanding of the work that we're doing in Africa and just the motivation of where that comes from, I could see that you have a kindred spirit with that, and I just appreciated some of the things you shared.
Where do I start with that in terms of your impact on me and my life? And I have not known of you and your work that long, but in the short period that I have, being exposed to you and what it is that you do, what you've done in your history, from a little boy, having met your wonderful mother the other night and getting that historical perspective, my God. It is simply people like you makes the world a better place, period. You make this world a better place because sadly the world has kind of gone downhill somewhat. I feel so strongly that you being who you are and what you do, that touched me. You mentioned that I touched you in a way when we talked the other night that was unlike most people. Well, you have impacted and touched thousands of lives and people. And your work in Africa, and I think in Australia and every place else for that matter, I think even with the Aborigines and those original people there, you have gone to a place that most people might think about, but only few dare to go. And you have the spirit of a disciple. I meant that. I meant that because there's no one that I can think of offhand today that does the work, puts in the effort, and goes beyond where you go. People they're afraid, they're scared, they have their egos, their reputation, and their fear to consider before they would even think of doing a fraction of what you've done. Your humanitarian work is profound. You're going places where in Africa, where the average person, especially the average educated, the average person with a high profile bank account, dare not go. They won't go there. That's why, Africa stays where it's at, because people of influence are not interested in going there, not the places that you go to. And what takes you there, what simply takes you there, Jonathan, is your spirit. Your pure, unadulterated, and sincere spirit is what guides you. And that, in my opinion, is nothing less than spirituality. You were born to do this. And the first person that I thought about commending, besides our Creator, of course, was your mother. She was there. I could not withhold that sentiment about you and what you do and what you've done. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And you have profoundly affected me. So my sincere thanks. Thank you.
seeing I hear you talk, and it's like a mirror, because I think that's how you connect, and that I think that's the reason why, because like I really am. I'm connecting with something of trying to work out, because of your nationality, like you're American, but I can see that you have an African heritage, and it's sometimes I actually feel like a little I've been really careful. I've looked at a lot where there is media that, for example, highlights the poverty in such a way that it dehumanizes, and I've really I've sought to depict issues like famines, but then I sought to not take away dignity in that, and there was like situations that were like that. So it's I actually don't like. I think maybe Black American, African American people, maybe some that I feel more self-conscious with the work that I do, because I always want to make sure that it's like, hey, look, this isn't about it's not about being like trying to create an image of the the white missionary, or like some kind of out there publicity stunt or anything like that.
Commercialization of
all of that, or yeah, exactly, or seeking, or in any way depicting a group of people as powerless, because I think the opposite. The people that have inspired me the most have been the people that in villages that have had a few watermelon seeds to their name, that have used it to create wealth for themselves and put their children through school. And so I've always found that like to be extremely motivating and inspiring to me. I look up to these people because I think about the situations I've grown up in. I haven't actually had to live in that, so it's deep respect. And anyway, but I think the other thing that like was the thing I was bringing up before, was that with you, there were situations where I'm like with people, and like nobody can see it, and there's no point in publicizing it unless it's particularly for a fundraiser. So lots of stories that are just secret, and their experiences, but like it's like there's a connection where, and I want people to think about this, because you can do something privately, but people feel it, and like you can love someone privately, or be there for somebody, or be in some dramatic situation where you go out of your way, but then there's no need to publicize that, because your Father sees that, and you don't need to publicize it, and it would take away from the purity of that motivation. But the reality is that people will feel that, and I just felt that with you, that somehow there was a connection, and I don't know, that's what's coming to my mind.
I think you just hit the nail on the head for me. The it is the dignity that you afford people. You afford people the dignity that they deserve. That's the it in you. That's the it for me.
What do you mean by that?
You will go to these war-torn places that few people are going to go. And you will roll your sleeves up, and you will lend a hand. I've seen you touch the poorest of the world's people. I've seen you hold them and hug them and love them, and even shed tears because of their despair. I've seen that. That's what I mean. And that's why I have much, much respect for you. And that's why there's few people that can touch you in terms of that level of humanitarianism that you show.
Thank you so much. It means so much to me. It's so beautiful. It's so precious. Thank you. Because it's just like, for me, I'm in these different worlds, and I'm like, there's this world here, but it's all connected, and that's just, you know what I mean? Like, this is all humanitarian work.
You're a very humble man, and that's another thing that makes you just, you are an asset to humanity. You are an asset. And it's funny because I sit here and I'm saying a lot of things about you, and someone may be listening and they may be thinking, well, they may be thinking any number of things. And I'm sure one of the things is, well, how long has she known him? And I'm sure a lot of things are going through their heads. But one thing is for sure, when you encounter, and I'm going to say this, when you encounter greatness in terms of humanity, when you encounter greatness, you recognize it for what it is. It's simple, it's very plain. And for me, that greatness translates, I don't care how hokey and corny this may sound, that greatness translates directly to simply love. Bottom line, hands down, that's all about love. Thank you, Jonathan, for that love.
God bless you. What did you just mention? The nonprofit that you do?
My nonprofit is called Dallas Fair Park Community and Business Development Enterprise. And what we're doing is we're actually developing a permacultural garden. We have 3 acres in rural Texas, east of Dallas, 2 hours east of Dallas. It's in Troop, Texas. It's my family property, and we're going to get it cleared. I actually have a GoFundMe page to get the money together for the nonprofit because we are a 501c3 nonprofit. So we're going to, I don't know if, Jonathan, if you've heard of permaculture before.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. And the reason I trained through Texas A&M, class of 22, as a master gardener. I've sort of left that interest to pursue permaculture because permaculture for me it's speaking of whole, it's everything. It represents it incorporates, I should say, from the birds to the pollinators down to the soil and everything in between without any herbicides, pesticides, and all of those things rolled into one. It's very biodiverse food forest that we're going to do. I have a pilot in my backyard that I've been working on, and again, as having trained through Texas A&M, their master gardening course, and going beyond that to permaculture, I've learned some techniques and things. That's why I'm going to begin our food forest. And it is my hope, based on the nonprofit, to bring inner city, the youth and their parents, because that's important, to that site and teach them about gardening so that they can take that back to an urban garden, because we're going to be incorporating hydroponics and vertical, those techniques, all those things at that site. So that's what we're working on now.
That's incredible, Alethea. I love that. And thank you for sharing. That's wonderful. And and just before you leave, your career, what was your career focused in?
Oh, I had 2. I'm not a spring chicken, as you can. I was
and how old are you? Because you're a good example of health. Go ahead.
I 65 in July. I was a technical writer for the Department of Defense. That was my career job before I came to Texas, and I reinvented myself as an insurance agent. I worked for Allstate for a long time. So now I'm retired, but I tell people that I need to go back to work because I need to go back to work to rest because I've been working too much. But it's a labor of love, so I'm good.
That's awesome. You're a fighter. I love that. Hey, God bless you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. God bless you, Jonathan. God bless you always. Keep you safe.
Next, we have Dr. Saeed Haider, a seasoned physician with a wealth of experience, and he offers us a profound perspective on health and healing, one that transcends the conventional boundaries of medicine. In a world fixated on specific treatments and isolated approaches, Dr. Haider reminds us of the holistic nature of our well-being. He gets into the intricacies of toxicity, emphasizing that our understanding of health must extend beyond the narrow focus on individual elements like the spike protein. Instead, we must broaden our scope to consider all forms of toxicity that affect us, whether they be physical, emotional, mental, or even spiritual. In this modern age, toxins are ubiquitous, from environmental pollutants to the invisible electromagnetic fields that surround us. Dr. Haider's core message centers on the fundamental principles of human healing. He explains that at its essence, healing is about removing toxicity, purging our systems of that which harms us, whether it's physical toxins or negative emotions that can weigh us down. Following that, we have Dr. Andrew Kaufman as he introduces to us a concept that challenges the traditional understanding of health and illness, the concept of terrain. It's a term more commonly associated with geography and land masses, but in the context of health, it takes on a new and profound meaning. To illustrate this idea, Dr. Kaufman lets us in on the importance of our gut microbiome, which consists of a diverse community of microorganisms, primarily bacteria, that reside in our digestive system. These microorganisms, which originate from within our bodies, are vital contributors to our health. They reflect and influence the state of our internal terrain. Dr. Kaufman's insights prompt us to reevaluate our perspectives on health and disease, encouraging us to consider the profound influence of our internal and external environments on our overall well-being.
The people who have the most experience, like myself and, a handful of other physicians who are really experienced, are finding that it's not enough to just, focus on the spike protein to the exclusion of all else, right? You have to broaden your scope of what, what toxic load we have. And if you are sick, the most important kind of high-level concept to understand is, how do human beings heal, right? The answer to that question is you remove toxicity, you remove toxins, and these can be physical toxins, emotional, mental, spiritual. I mean, you got to broaden your definition as broad as possible. Electromagnetic toxins, electromagnetic fields, everything, right? So all of those are toxins, and it's not that you have to go back to some sort of pristine existence that's impossible in the modern world, because the plastics are everywhere, the toxins are everywhere. Even if you go to the middle of the Amazon jungle, there's going to be something. So I'm not saying that you have to be utterly pristine, but as much as possible, And then on the other hand, your body has certain nourishment requirements. So not just nutrition in the sense of physical nutrition, but emotional, mental, spiritual. These other aspects of our being require nourishment, and you need electromagnetic nourishment too. So electromagnetic fields can be toxic and they can be nourishing as well. So a lot of things are toxic at the wrong dose or at the wrong time or the wrong type, right? So sunlight is extremely nourishing, and you don't really need infrared contraptions. You just need to go outside, right? You just need to go outside throughout the day. So in the morning, your eyes need to see the sun. You need to program your circadian rhythm by going out early morning for 30 minutes. And having the sunlight come through glass doesn't work. It blocks the most important wavelengths of light, the healing wavelengths, the infrared, the UVB. So you need to go outside in the morning, in mid-afternoon, late afternoon, sunset. You want to be outside as much as possible. And grounding is extremely important. A lot of people find that it's very beneficial for sleep. And it's not just sleep, but it's everything. So it's an extremely anti-inflammatory practice. And I'm not just talking about going and touching grass for a few minutes a day. You should do that, but you need to be grounded as much as possible. When you're sitting at your desk, when you're sitting on the couch, when you're standing washing dishes, when you're sitting at the table eating, when you're sleeping, right? So you can get a grounding mat for all of these locations in your life, at your office, at home, wherever. And you can have grounded bed sheet that plugs into the ground outlet of your wall. They make them with cotton thread and interwoven with silver threads, and then connected with a wire to the ground of your wall outlet, so that sheet is grounded. And grounding essentially is the earth is acting like a giant, massive antioxidant, right? And what an antioxidant is, in fact, is just a donor of electrons. It donates electrons which stop inflammation. So the lack of electrons causes inflammation. So there's missing electrons, and an antioxidant gives some of its electrons away to top up these, inflammatory molecules that are missing electrons. That's how an antioxidant works. You don't need to be eating like a ton of blueberries every day. You just need to be grounded all the time as much as possible. And the earth will shoot in all these electrons, right? Basically electricity, but healing electricity, very, very low levels. But you can test it. You can see it's like in the millivolt range. You'll find that your body will drop, 1 or 200 millivolts when you touch the earth, when you touch the grounded sheets. So that's important. And there's a lot of other things that are important. So, like I said, if you have this kind of framework, then you can understand why you're doing everything that you're doing, why it's going to be beneficial. And the underlying, reality is that the body heals itself. You don't need a mechanic to do the fixing, right? You're not like a car that needs somebody else to fix it. You are a self-healing organism. As long as you provide the right environment for that healing to naturally happen, it will happen, right? This is a tremendous, gift that God has given us, that we don't have to patch ourselves up, right? It reminds me of this movie, probably in the 90s, Death Becomes Her, where these people drink this potion, these two ladies who are kind of competing with each other, these frenemies. They drink this potion that makes them live forever, but then, they start attacking each other, and one shoots the other one with a shotgun, and she has this giant hole in her stomach, but she doesn't die, right? She just keeps living. And then one of them chops off the head of the other person, but the head is alive, the body's alive, and she has to like sew it back on. And so they end up at the end like just falling apart, but still alive, right? So they're kind of undead, right? They're the undead. They're not they're not dead, but they're not really alive the way that we usually experience life, which is that it's a self-healing thing, right? So to be alive is to just automatically heal. You cut yourself, it just heals. You don't have to think about it. I'm talking about like a little cut. You don't have to stitch it up. You don't have to do anything, right? Sometimes you have to do a little bit more. But the main metaphor is that, say you kept doing paper cuts every day in the same location, it would never heal. And that's essentially what we are experiencing when we're sick, is this, like, you just keep cutting yourself in the same spot day in, day out, all the time, constantly, and it can't heal, right? It's trying to heal. It's creating inflammation, which is a form of healing, but you're not letting it fully heal. So oftentimes people will, say, okay, I have inflammation, it's bad, I need to get rid of the inflammation. And that's the wrong perspective, right? The body has an inherent wisdom, and it's doing things for a good reason, right? So you might go and check, oh, I have this inflammatory marker in my body, I need to take something specifically to make that go down, right? That's the wrong approach, okay? That's the basic kind of mechanistic approach of all Western medicine, and sometimes it goes by functional medicine or alternative medicine or whatever, but there are just variations on the same theme, which is, I know what's wrong with you and I can fix it by like pressing this button, right? Like I can force that thing to go away. I can force the blood pressure to go down. I can force the blood sugar to go down. I can force the interleukin-6 to go down. Like it, functional medicine and a lot of alternative medicine is just more advanced forms of just modern Western medicine, right? It's just like taking it to its ultimate, end, which is just getting more and more into the weeds and into the details of like, all the intricate little things that I can, all these little knobs that I can turn and pull and whatever. It's a very expensive approach. So modern Western medicine itself is expensive. Functional medicine is probably 10 times more expensive if you do it really well, if you do it right. All the different tests that you can do, you can bypass all of that. You can simplify it, okay? And you can just focus on the toxins, removing them as much as possible, and giving yourself all the support and nutrition and nutrients that you need. And if you want, you can do testing to help you figure those two things out, how much you have or whatever, or you can just basically assume that the stuff everyone is exposed to, you are exposed to it, it's in your body, you need to do something and get rid of it. And you can look at nutrition in a similar way as well, and at least get started with the basics and just see that, the quantity of nutrition, the amount of micronutrients in our food has plummeted over the last 100 years because of, the terrible farming methods that we use that over-farm the soil. And, the artificial fertilizer that we're using instead of using manure and natural fertilizers. So a lot of these things, people have touted them as great advances, and they've actually been great leaps backwards, unfortunately. They've impoverished communities and enriched the rich, the already rich, the billionaire class. And you can't, and they've lied to us. You don't need a green revolution. You don't need GMO products. You can have millions of independent farmers, and you can have a robust, vibrant modern economy running that way. But my point is that, magnesium, everyone is low, essentially, right? No one's getting enough. People are not getting enough of a lot of these nutrients that you already, and some of them are, you can run a pretty cheap panel of things just to hit the important ones, like, magnesium and vitamin D. And, one trick with vitamin D is you compare it to the parathyroid hormone level. So vitamin D itself is a hormone, and has an interplay with parathyroid hormone, which is PTH, and calcium. And so as your vitamin D levels go up, your parathyroid hormone is suppressed more and more, but eventually it stops going down. So if you are raising your vitamin D levels over time and you're checking your parathyroid at the same time and ensuring that your calcium is stable, it's not going up too much. So the more vitamin D you take on, if you take on too much vitamin D, your calcium levels can rise to unhealthy levels. So as long as your calcium is within the normal range, not too high, parathyroid is low, then you've reached, and it stops going down, you've reached your kind of optimal vitamin D level, and that's where you want to keep it. So otherwise, like, how would you know, right? There's this huge range, like some people say 30 to 100, yeah, I'm somewhere in there, I must be fine. It's more complicated than that, and it depends on your ancestry and how much sun your ancestors were exposed to, and what just mix of genetics you ended up with, right? And most of us don't have a clear way to answer that without some sort of test, right? Because a lot of us have mixed ancestry, right? Like our ancestors are from all over the place. You can't really figure out. It's not that simple anymore. So getting vitamin D right, there's 4 fat soluble vitamins. You have to, if you're supplementing one, you have to supplement all of them. Otherwise, you'll get deficient in some of the others. Knowing that a lot of supplements act that way. Like if you're supplementing zinc, you have to be supplementing copper, right? Like if you take too much zinc, you're going to get low in copper, which probably a lot of people have done in the last couple of years. Is the famous kind of like supplement stack was zinc and quercetin and vitamin C and vitamin D, right? And with vitamin D, you need vitamin K, which is a fat soluble vitamin, to balance out the calcium metabolism and put the calcium into your bones instead of your arteries. You need vitamin E, which is another fat soluble vitamin. So you need or retinol. A, D, E, and K are the 4 fat soluble vitamins. With zinc, you need some copper to balance it out. But I think that's really important for people to understand, is that, like I was saying earlier, there's this very complicated, very expensive, in the weeds way of trying to fix things, where you're essentially like an explorer who shrinks down to a microscopic level and injects yourself into somebody's body and is running around like crazy trying to like fix all these tiny little microscopic things that no one can see, like the way that different chemical reactions are weighted in the body, like how much of this thing is there and how much of that is there and how much the output. And it's this extremely complex way of trying to approach health. Almost like that movie in the 90s where they shrunk down in size and went inside somebody's body. So that's one approach to health, which is kind of our modern approach, this mechanistic approach. And the other approach is to zoom out really far and look at the broad strokes and look at things from a much further, broader perspective. And that's a far more powerful and far easier and far simpler approach to healing. And that starts with basically mind-body medicine. So even above that, you might say that it starts with spirituality, right, as the basis of really deep, profound, natural healing. I don't know. I'm not that much of a spiritualist myself. I'm more of a dabbler. But, I think our beings, like that's the most primary, level of our being is the spirit. And so everything else is downstream of the spirit, and everything in some sense or other is a manifestation of a spiritual issue, right? Not necessarily a problem, but maybe like an opportunity for growth is the way that you might look at it. And so some things, they seem bad, and in fact, and yet they're good for you, right? So if you have this view of reality that there's this beneficent being, right? God, who's created everything and in control of every atom in existence and wants what's best for you, right? Then, you have this quote unquote problem of evil, and it's not really a problem if you see it from God's perspective and from the perspective of there being a next world that you're going to spend most of eternity in, and this life here is like a drop in an ocean of eternity. So however bad it could possibly get in this life, the reward will so far outweigh it that you won't care. You won't mind how much you had to put up with. And so when you look at it from that perspective, things kind of change, and things that you perceive as problems, if you see them from a long enough timeline, you realize, I mean, a lot of us have had that experience anyway, that if you give it a few years, you look back and you're like, oh, that horrible thing that I thought was the end of the world was actually the best thing that ever happened to me, right? Thank God it happened. Thank you. I'm so glad that it did, because all this good stuff came out of it, right? I changed, and then I did this, and then I met this person, and then et cetera, on and on. But take that to the nth degree, right? And look at it from the perspective of eternity and an eternal reward, right? For all the stuff you had to put up with. And that kind of changes your perception of all the stuff you had to put up with, and all the stuff everyone else in the world has to put up with, all the quote unquote evil that we're being exposed to. And from our perspective, it's certainly evil. And part of the test of this life is, how do you respond to something that's evil, right? So the evil that other people are doing, do you respond the way you're supposed to or not? But from the perspective of the creator of everything, right? It's not good or bad, right? So God can't do something good or bad. He's the creator of all existence, right? So he himself is not, like, even though he's creating the bad and the good and telling people to, like, deal with bad this way and deal with good this way, good and evil only really apply to us, right, as the creation. So anyway, my point here is that that's kind of like the top level, right, where you could theoretically go to that level and look at things from that perspective, and you could fix things at lower levels of the mind or the body from a spiritual level. Whether or not that's practical or not, maybe it's not that practical. But the mind level is a very practical level, and we do know how to reach that level and fix things from the level of the mind. So, like with that, that experiment with the hotel workers, there are, a lot of people who can teach you how to implement mind-body medicine. And a lot of it is letting go of limiting beliefs, right? That there's all these limiting beliefs that, like, okay, I have the spike protein in me and I can't fight it off, and there's nothing I can do about it. And, my DNA's been rewritten by genetic programming and vaccines and whatever, right? And I'm never going to be the same again, maybe somebody owns me now, right? Like, there's these people who just get lost in these, in the weeds with, like, go down all these rabbit holes and frighten themselves to death. And they are actually frightening themselves to death. That's what they're doing. So you have to let go of these limiting beliefs, and you have to start from a belief that anything can heal, okay? God can heal anything, right? So you have to have that as a foundational belief of any medical system, that all diseases can be cured, right? That's the foundation of a medical system, right? If you're going to have a medical system, that has to be the foundation of it, right? Otherwise, what are you doing, right? Why are you wasting your time? Why are you going to a doctor who doesn't believe that, right? So a lot of clinicians, physicians don't have that as their foundational belief. And I think that's a real problem. Like, it's just, you're wasting your time, they're wasting your time. What are you doing with them, right? Like, they're just stringing you along and helping you manage, right? But a healing system, like, even if it weren't true, like, I believe it is true, but even if it weren't, right, it's better to believe it is true and to constantly be striving for that. And I think if most of us, interrogate our deepest selves, we kind of have this feeling that it is true, right? So I think that we have this deep kind of internal belief of the way reality works, that things are fundamentally fair, right? God set things up in a certain way. And one of those ways that he set them up in is that you can heal diseases. So it's not to say that everyone will be cured, right? Everyone that comes to me will be cured. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that theoretically they could be, like, they could heal. but they may not be willing to, right? They may not be willing to do what it takes to heal. They may not be willing to give up what they need to give up. So going to the mind level doesn't mean that that it's all in your head, that your mind necessarily created it. Although going back up one level to the spirit level, from that perspective, you might say that you're, in a sense, kind of like co-creating everything, right, with all the other people in the world, and things happen to you because of what you need to happen to you, right? So again, it's like God is trying to nudge you in certain directions, right, of growth, right? Here's an opportunity to grow, right, to fix this problem in your spirit by overcoming this problem in your body or in your life or with other people or whatever, right? So everything from that broader perspective makes sense, right? When you get to the next world, you'll look back on it and it'll all make sense. It'll be like, wow, everything was perfect. It couldn't have been any more perfect, right? Everything that happened in my life was absolutely perfect. I wouldn't change a single thing, right? It couldn't have been better. That's like what it means to truly believe in God, right? That there is some being who's creating everything, who's so like illimitably perfect that every decision he makes is perfect, right? That it could not be improved upon if you tried, right? So we think that we can improve upon it. Like, I wish I had more money. I wish blah, blah, blah. But any other situation that you could put yourself in would not be as ideal as a situation you are in right this second, okay? So from the perspective of the mind, what I'm saying is that you could, like, there could be a trigger for illness from outside you, like the spike protein. The trigger could be from your mind. Sometimes it is like a manifestation of mind causing the body to be sick. And it's probably a mixture of a lot of different things, right? So things from outside you, things from inside you, thoughts, emotions, things that happened in the past, traumas, habits of yours, addictions, all these things are creating this toxic load, and it's being manifested as a certain illness at a certain time. And the illnesses often, if you reach deep enough inside you, have a profound meaning for you, right? It's difficult for a doctor to figure out what that is, unless you have tremendous intuition and you can see beyond what people are telling you to the real heart of, their heart and soul. It's a difficult thing to do when people don't want to really, really open up. But it is possible if you give it enough time, and I think people need to probably do most of this themselves in like journaling and self-exploration. The real exciting journey is the spiritual journey, right? The spiritual progress is what can make any life exciting, right? Even if you're sitting behind a desk for, 15 hours a day for 50 years, right? Your life can be, incredibly exciting, and, it can be a wonderful, adventurous life if you're living that life of the spirit and you're not just, focusing on the day-to-day, like mundanity, right? The mundane, putting one step ahead of the other, one foot in front of the other and making, some money and, putting food on your table, but you're seeing things from a different perspective. So anyway, going back to the, mind-body medicine, a lot of it is removing limiting beliefs, and then having kind of grateful visualizations is a big part of it too. But all the mechanics of exactly how to do it, you got to spend some time, a few days learning it, maybe taking a few courses or sitting with somebody who knows how to do it. But the broad strokes are you're removing something that's holding you back, right? Some sort of limiting belief or something that's, people get stuck in a certain way in an illness sometimes, like a lot of long COVID vaccine-injured chronic fatigue syndrome people, Lyme disease sufferers, mold toxic people. A lot of these people, some trauma kind of thing happened, or like some traumatic illness happened, and then they just get stuck in this illness state. And sometimes that thing that got them stuck is still there, and sometimes it's not there, but it doesn't really matter. Like, the mind can overcome whatever is going on in the body. So literally, I'm being literal here, like, you can use your mind to overcome any illness, all right? So that is the most powerful thing that most people will not do, okay? I'll tell you right now, even the people listening, like 1% or less than 1%, maybe 0.1%, 1 in 1,000 people are really interested in this. I haven't found this audience, but maybe this audience is watching. You can read a book by an ER doctor called Healing Beyond Pills and Potions, which is one of the best ones, I think, for kind of understanding how the mind can use the body to create illnesses that have a meaning for you, and how you can roll back that process and become healthy again. And a lot of the people who are doing it, they're not physicians, and they feel like if I say that you could heal cancer using your mind, then I would lose my license, I would lose my job, I would lose everything, right? People would attack me, and I would become a pariah, and maybe I would be killed. Who knows, right? But I'm telling you, okay, that the mind can heal anything. The spirit can heal anything. The mind can also heal anything, except the spirit. So the mind can't go and heal the spirit. So if you really have a deep problem with the spirit level, you have to go to the spirit level to heal it. So the spirit level is kind of like at the top, and then below it is the mind. So the spirit can heal anything downstream of it, and the mind can heal anything downstream of it, which is the body. And so again, it's difficult to go to the body level and try to heal the mind, right? Even though there's some dualism, that's one way of looking at things, is kind of like in a hierarchical way. Another way of maybe looking at them is that they're just like different aspects of the same whole. But anyway, that seems to be true to me, that you can't, like, there is a hierarchical descending kind of pattern, and at whatever level you're trying to heal something at, you can heal things downstream of that level. So you may be able to work on that level. So the mind may be able to work on the mind, but it can't work on the spirit. So I think this is important. This is stage one. If people are willing to do it, that's the first thing they should do. Okay, because if you're willing to do that work, it's the easiest work. It's the easiest way to heal anything. It'll have the biggest bang for the buck. Okay, you'll get the biggest return on the investment of time and money at this level, at the mind body level, where you go and learn mind body medicine. You'll get an even higher return on investment at the spiritual level, but that's dependent on what spiritual tradition you're in, and if you can find a real spiritual master or not. And they are exceedingly rare. Okay, the real ones are exceedingly rare. I've met a couple, but they're exceedingly rare. They're extremely hard to find. You'll have an easier time finding people who can teach you mind body medicine. So anyway, you go to that level first if you can, and then below that is the level of like lifestyle, which is essentially what you do with your body. That's a body level, right? That is extremely powerful for healing the body. Most people don't go beyond that, and most people can heal themselves just focusing on the body itself, at the level of the body. And so what that means is, you got to remove all the harmful things and give yourself all the things that you need. And obviously sleep is extremely important, maybe of primary importance, and people discount it to no end. They just don't give it the importance that it deserves. You can't detoxify your brain or your body if you don't sleep enough. You can't recover properly. You can't heal. You cannot heal if you're not optimizing and getting enough sleep. So you have to fix your sleep. In order to fix your sleep, you have to get light at the right time of day and not get light at the wrong time of day. Okay, so you have to become in sync with the natural world, right? So at the body level, it's all about imagining, right? Like, what would like a natural kind of environment, a completely natural existence be like?
Dr. Kaufman, something you found to be true and you believe to be true, that you feel that the world needs to hear, which is in this concept called terrain. Why the word terrain, which is it's a word used to discuss like geography or the land mass or something like that. So you guys are using this word terrain to denote a new understanding that helps people understand why they're getting sick versus in direct contrast to a virus. And what's that all about? Why does it matter? Why does it have an impact? I'd like to hear that.
Well, it's interesting. I'm not entirely sure originally who applied the word terrain to this field of study, which is really microbiology. But the earliest quotation that I'm aware of comes from Claude Bernard, who was a contemporary of Louis Pasteur and Antoine Béchamp. And it had to do with, the quote was, the germ is nothing, the terrain is everything. And supposedly this was Louis Pasteur's deathbed recantation of his germ theory that he was writing to Claude Bernard, who had already advocated that position. And the terrain, refers to the environment, the milieu, that not only that we live in, external to us, but also within our bodies, right? The microenvironment that all of the cells have to live and communicate with each other and carry out all the functions of our body in. And that when the terrain or the milieu is disrupted, usually by poisoning, but could be by a deficit of resources, for example, that is what explains a state of health or unhealth. So when there's abundant resources and all of the poisons or contaminants are managed and disposed of appropriately, then you have a state of optimal health. And so it's really quite simple. And one example that everybody knows about that's important to health these days has to do with probiotics, or the gut biome, or the gut flora, gut bacteria, however you want to refer to it, right? But we're all knowledgeable now that part of our health is reflected by the microorganisms, and these are mostly species of bacteria, but there are other microorganisms there as well that are living in our gut. And these microorganisms actually, in my opinion, make up a substantial part of our body. And they're not just in our gut, of course. They're really throughout our body and come from within us originally. And so this is an aspect of the terrain theory that we're all, aware of consciously, just like we all are consciously aware of that if we eat good quality food that is, free of harmful ingredients, which, we at least know some of, like we all know that sugar is harmful to have too much of, for example, that affects the terrain of our body in a positive way.
Now, this thing as well with shedding was interesting because even Dr. Artis was kind of starting to wonder, hold on a second, like what if it is a bum steer? Like you're intentionally being misled on, for example, shedding, in the sense that isn't it within the interests of these bodies to really make you afraid of everyone and to make yourself reclusive? And so the studies, like I believe in the trial documents, they'd put things like contact with could lead to bodily harm of another person, and for example could lead to harm of the mother and an unborn baby and things like this. So what I'm saying is those documents then made people like me and others then say, well, this is a concern. Like if someone's just been vaccinated, you got to be careful about being in close contact with them in that time. But then on the other hand, what if that information was designed to like create this just perfect division between these two groups, and that it wasn't actually really possible for it to transmit like that, and that it like was some kind of toxins that were being put into our environments? And so what happens is you get exposed together, and then you think you got it from a family member, whereas it came another way. And these are things that I think make a big difference, because I even have one of my wife's best friends from childhood that's still a good friend of my wife and I's. I think she does feel in some ways like she killed her mother's husband, in the sense that she was the one that had COVID first, and then it spread to him, right? So these horrible things that then haunt people, like they could have been the one that took the life of someone they love because they transmitted it. So this just, coming back to the concept itself, obviously there with my question, but specifically on shedding even, what would you like to share on that?
Well, yeah, this is definitely an important issue, and that would be really unfortunate for someone to have that kind of guilt when they had no responsibility. And this played out in the AIDS era as well. In fact, there were even people charged with attempted murder because they had sexual relations with someone who was HIV negative while they were HIV positive, according to another test that's never been validated, or that test has never been FDA approved either. So I think what you have here is related to the nocebo effect. So, we know that the governments and agencies that are putting out this information, they're experts at getting you to believe things that are not true, and they're experts at creating fear. And we talked a little bit about placebos before, right? And how I told you that, the placebo effect is kind of this psychological effect that our bodies can actually heal. And I mentioned the surgery study where they reduced pain or angina, like heart pain from the sham surgery. But this actually can be used to improve actual physical conditions. Like the most famous that the placebo effect and through hypnosis can completely alleviate are warts. But there are many other conditions, and we know that this kind of mental effect can have very strong effects on the body, and it works in both directions. So you can take something or do something that you believe is really positive and beneficial and have a positive and beneficial effect, even if the thing itself didn't directly do it, that it was just your own body doing it. And you could also have the negative effect. So let me explain an experiment where they did this. They had some cancer patients, and they told them that they were giving them chemotherapy, but they actually just gave them saline or salt water. Now, these patients, after getting the salt water, many of them had nausea and vomiting as if they were given chemotherapy. Some of them later on actually had hair loss just from the salt water, right? That's how powerful the nocebo effect is. Now, there are some curses, like there's a curse among the Aborigines, like the death grip or the death stare. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, like where they basically tell you that you're going to die?
Yes, right? And there have been individuals recorded even in modern times, right, that when they receive this curse, they actually die like 2 days later.
Yeah, well.
Right? And even though they were, in perfect health prior to this, right? And so I think, many agree that that's a form of the nocebo effect, that's how powerful it could be. So if you have a situation where there's all of this fear of this deadly disease that you could get from other people, from out in public, from just breathing around other people, and that it can, kill you in a short matter of time, then when something actually happens, you can have the nocebo effect can kick in, and you can even develop physical symptoms if there's no illness. Or if let's say that you get a cold, but you believe that it's a life-threatening COVID, then it can make the cold much more severe through the nocebo effect, just by your belief that it's something dangerous, without there having to be anything actually dangerous about it. In other words, if you didn't believe that, if you were, sheltered from the news media and didn't hear about it and you got a cold, you would just have a normal cold like every other year.
Up next, we have Dr. Kathleen Geringer, who highlights the advantages of several therapeutic approaches, beginning with red light therapy. She shares that this therapy harnesses red light to stimulate cellular activity and enhance blood circulation, resulting in the rejuvenation of mitochondria, the cell's energy-producing structures. Red light therapy is recognized for its potential to provide individuals with sustainable energy levels and may even help in weight loss by positively impacting adipose tissue and facilitating toxin removal from the body. Dr. Geringer also discusses massage therapy. This form of therapy focuses on manipulating the body's muscles and tissues to alleviate tension, improve circulation, and encourage lymphatic drainage. By addressing tender muscle spots and associated discomfort, massage therapy promotes relaxation and healing, contributing to overall well-being. Following that, we have Dr. Jack Wolfson, who highlights the importance of mental well-being in the context of overall health particularly when it comes to cardiovascular disease and vaccine injuries. He talks about the 3 pillars of health: eat well, live well, and think well, emphasizing that they are all equally important. Dr. Wolfson emphasizes the significance of healthy thought processes, which he places on par with dietary choices and lifestyle. He points out that happiness, a strong sense of community, and faith in spirituality are all linked to longer lifespans. These factors are essential in preventing, treating, and even reversing cardiovascular disease and other health conditions.
Red light therapy is very beneficial, especially when we talk about mitochondrial health. What mitochondria is the mitochondria is a powerhouse of your cells. So every cell in your body has a mitochondria. So with red light therapy, it helps to stimulate your cells and increase that blood circulation and increase and wake up that mitochondria, again, which is the powerhouse, so then you have sustainable energy throughout the day. Red light therapy is also beneficial when it comes to fat loss and weight loss. We've seen studies where it shows that it helps to decrease the adipose tissue and remove the toxins from the body. It is amazing, and actually I use the red light therapy myself. Ozone therapy is beneficial for blood circulation. What it does is that you're able to take a person's blood out and you're able to actually inject the ozone and clean it up and re-inject it back in the body. What does that do to the body? What it does is that it enhances your body's own stem cells and it wakes up the body's mitochondria, which we talk about, is it helps to improve the circulation. A lot of athletes use ozone therapy just to increase the oxygenation of the cells. When a cell is oxygenated, they notice that their breathing pattern is a lot better. It helps them with their lung capacity and also the cardiovascular system too. And of course, more and more research comes out that say ozone therapy is very beneficial for Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's patients. Massage therapy. Massage therapy allows our body to move the lymphatic system. What is the lymphatic system? Lymphatic system is that it's these immune system that sits in your body. By massaging certain areas, it helps to move that waste product out of your body so then your body can heal. And when we massage the body, sometimes we hit these little tender spots or these muscle fibers, that we call it an angry muscle. When you massage a muscle, it should not be tender. When it's tender, that means that muscle is either in spasm or the cells around the muscle fiber starts to accumulate around that area. So just like when we were younger, if we run and then we fall down, our mom would just kiss our knee or kiss our boo-boo and then it's gone. What happens is that when you do that, you're actually massaging it very superficially, but you go in there and you create what we call this energy flow, this natural energy flow, so that inflamed area is no longer stuck or inflamed. Massage therapy is very effective when it comes to musculoskeletal dysfunction because when a muscle's in spasm, that means that it's being contracted. And in order for us to relax it, we can actually stretch it or again, going in there and massaging the muscle just to calm it down so it can calm down. Another thing that really helps with muscle spasm that actually is an adjunct to massage therapy is implementing some magnesium. Magnesium is one of those supplements, one of those minerals that's very healing to the body, that calms the body down. And actually the muscles is one of those, what we call, when somebody has a muscle spasm, I usually tell them take at least 500 milligrams of magnesium. When we talk about the mind and the body, it is so important. I always go through what I call the 4-step process. The first one is we say, let's detoxify the body. Get rid of all the toxins, get rid of all the debris, the environmental toxins, the things that we put on our skin. The second step we talked about is to nutrify the body. Put all the really good stuff back in. adapting a healthy diet, supplement yourself, and then the third step is fortify the body. Keep your hormones nice and balanced, get enough sleep so your body can repair. And the fourth step is the power of the mind. But in my opinion, I feel like the power of the mind is the first step. Spiritual is so important when we talk about a healthy lifestyle. If we don't have our mindset right, everything will start falling apart. So having faith and having that spiritual being in your heart and in your soul and being grateful for what you have is so important. However, in modern society, when we talk about the mind, immediately they're thinking of a psychologist or a psychiatrist to be placed on something to suppress their brain function instead of being grateful for what we have and, again, adapt that spiritual being so we become a lot more balanced. Because when we go into this healthy journey, it's not just one thing, it's multifactorial, and that's so important. Power of the mind, again, detox the body, nutrify the body, and fortify the body.
Part of the process we use at Natural Heart Doctor is Think Well. And I want to reiterate, Think Well is just as important as the components Eat Well and Live Well. They're all equal. And there's so much debate around what foods to eat, but we forget about the lifestyle and we forget about the healthy thought processes. We know that people who are happy live longer. We know that people who have a strong sense of community live longer. We know that people who have a strong sense of faith and spirituality, they live longer. So we want to embrace those as part of the prevention, treatment, and reversal of cardiovascular disease and all disease. When I see people who have injury from the COVID shot or any kind of injury that they would have, I always ask them to embrace the healthy thought processes, to embrace visualization, closing your eyes and visualizing your heart beating stronger, your arteries being more clear, your heart rhythm being normal. And that positive affirmation of what you give is essential for recovery. We know, again, that people who have stress, anxiety, fear, depression, anger, isolation, markedly higher risk of COVID sickness, mortality, and overall cardiovascular disease. They found that people who suffer from depression had 10 times higher risk of COVID mortality. And ultimately, I would say that those people are going to be a much higher risk for COVID vaccine injury as well. So we always want to push that part that the medical doctors never had any training. And my psychiatry rotation was a month long. It was inpatient psychiatry where all we tried to do was give different pharmaceuticals for schizophrenia. We're not dealing with schizophrenia often as a medical diagnosis, but we're dealing with a lot of anger and fear and worry and anxiety. And that's exactly what Big Pharma wants. They want us to be fearful. They want us to be anxious. They want us to be isolated. Because when we are suffering mentally, we don't eat well. We don't live well. We don't recover well. We get sick. And when we get sick, when they sell us the fear, when we get sick, now we can take all their different pharmaceuticals. So it all works perfectly well for them, but it doesn't work so well for the general population. When you look at things through the lens of how are they trying to manipulate us? How are they trying to make money off of us? How are they trying to control us? You will understand everything. You will understand everything that's happened over the last 2,000 years. You will understand everything, every war, every catastrophe, every pandemic that they create. When you look at it through the eye of what are they trying to do to us, then you are truly aware of what's going on. And as we gain this global awareness, that is going to be the revolution. And those who do not understand what's going on around us, they're going to be swept away like the people who were not on Noah's Ark. In order to regain that healthy mindset, it is important that you eat the right foods and avoid the wrong foods. It's very important that you get adequate sleep and sunshine and be physically active. Be under chiropractic care, take care of your teeth. The evidence is there, in addition to the common sense aspect of, if I do these things, my brain will function better. Now, we can also do additional steps to recover our brain, and one thing is to have that spirituality. If you're lacking spirituality, if you're lacking God in your life, if you're lacking Jesus Christ in your life, well, go find God, Jesus Christ, whatever your beliefs are, go find that and be attracted to that and live that, because there is recovery in that view. You need to be around like-minded people in a safe community of like-minded people. If you have bad relationships, try and extract yourself from those relationships if they are beyond repair. If you're not happy at your workplace, do something about it. I wasn't happy when I was at the biggest group in the state of Arizona as a cardiologist, and I left and I started over. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, and I only wish that I made it years earlier. So if you are not happy, find your happiness. Do the things that make you happy. Avoid the things that don't make you happy. Accept yourself for who you are. Accept yourself for where you are and what your journey has been, but where you're going to be going forward. The past is the past. Don't dwell on the past. Think about the future and how you can make your future better. Have a sense of gratitude. Think about all the things that are positive in your life, all the positive experiences that you've had. And also future cast. What are the future positive experiences you're going to have? One of my favorite things is to tell people, always have a vacation plan. Now, your vacation plan could be in 6 weeks. It could be in 6 months. It could be 6 years from now. But having something in the future to look forward to, a trip to Costa Rica, a trip around Italy, a hike of Machu Picchu, so there's a lot of different things that you can think about and to be grateful for, and really working hard to achieve those. I love also the sense of purpose. Like, why are you here? What is your purpose on planet Earth? What are you here for? I, Dr. Jack Wolfson, I'm here to be a man of faith, to be a man of family, to be a man who is bringing the world natural heart health information, here to bring people the truth. That's my purpose of why I'm here. And your purpose may not be to impact millions of people directly like I attempt to achieve, but is your purpose here to be a loving spouse? Is your purpose here to be a child of God? Is your purpose here to be a loving parent or brother or sister or a friend? Finding that sense of purpose, I think, is paramount to cardiovascular and total body health. Everybody is so inundated with the mainstream rhetoric. Everybody is watching CNN or Fox, or they're looking on the internet, or they're talking to family and friends. Like, everybody is just hearing this one message of doom and gloom. And now you have hundreds, if not thousands, of medical doctors and healthcare practitioners that are speaking differently, that are telling people, hey, there is a much better way, and we've seen it, and we can guide you to that, and you need to work with us to achieve that. But have confidence in your God-given abilities, in your God-designed body to get the job done. So God did not create us deficient in pharmaceuticals or vaccines or injections or surgeries. We are built perfectly, and when we give our body the tools it needs to get the job done, and avoid the things that injures our bodies, that's the healthcare strategy. And you can't do better than that. You can't improve on how we are created.
To conclude this episode, we have Dr. Jana Schmidt, who emphasizes the profound connection between the mind, body, faith, and attitude in her discussion. She highlights the transformative power of positive words, prayer, and their collective impact. Schmidt references the work of Masaru Emoto, who conducted research involving water crystals and their response to various influences. Emoto's research revealed the profound impact of words and prayers on water crystals. This research is also in the public domain, as he is a New York Times bestseller. Schmidt encourages people to consider the implications of these findings in their daily lives. She suggests incorporating prayer and positive intentions into routines such as blessing food and water. By doing so, people can bring positivity and alignment with their faith to be substances they consume.
But there is definitely a connection to mind and body with our faith, and our attitude and the way we think and act and what we say all makes a difference. So there's actually some really fantastic work that you can actually see this. Certainly those who understand it have felt it, that the power of prayer, power of positive words, power of the way it all works together, and then having those lovely moments of thought and prayer over whatever's ailing you is really powerful. But I want to share something with you, and you may know this, but Masaru Emoto did some work with water, and he was taking beautiful pictures of water crystals. And these water crystals, they look like snowflakes. And there's a book called Message in the Water. And I think he has a few other books too, but Message in the Water was his first book. And when I saw this, the crystals were absolutely beautiful. And he took water crystal pictures from places all over the world, from, the inner city of this heavy, big city. And the water crystal looked terrible, looked all muddled and distorted even. And he took it like water from the Alps, and it was absolutely beautiful, perfect crystal. Well, I want to remind you, we're mostly water. Our bodies have so much water in them. So keep that in mind when I'm sharing this. So when he took the water crystals that didn't look pretty, they were definitely, something was wrong. And he spoke words over them, prayers, worship music. When that happened, the water crystal turned from muddled and disfigured to absolutely perfect and beautiful. So if words and prayer can have that much impact over a water crystal, not even in our bodies, can you imagine what it has when we pray for each other, when we pray to God, when we listen to worship music, and when we have a positive attitude? It goes the other way too. When harmful words were spoken over those water crystals, pretty, beautiful, perfectly shaped ones actually became deformed and distorted. So think about that when you have the opportunity to pray, you have the opportunity to pray over your food, pray over your water, pray over what you ingest, because we want it to be as close to God as we possibly can, and that's definitely ways is connecting with prayer.
Hey, it's Jonathan. Thanks so much for joining me in this amazing episode as we learn powerful information on how positive thinking can influence our overall health and recovery. Having a community, socializing with like-minded people, and encouraging one another to heal are truly some of the key things to consider to have good health. As we walk on this healing journey, I encourage each and every one to look at life from a positive angle. Be thankful for what you currently have. Be thankful for all the blessings that you have received, and be thankful that you have come across this healing information that I am sure can change and will change your life for the better. Encourage one another, help one another, pray, and be someone else's shoulder to cry on when things get rough for them. Share this healing information, add him or her to your community, and walk together hand in hand on this amazing healing journey to true health and recovery. Thanks so much for joining me in this episode, and I look forward to seeing you in the bonus episode.